Hey, what's up? This is Laidback Luke, DJ and producer, Kung Fu athlete, and dedicated dad. I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to make a scratch vlog. The reason is I absolutely do not see myself as a turntablist. I'm nowhere on the level like an A-Trak or a DJ Craze. I'm still very much a fan of turntablism and I have a ton of respect for real turntablists. But before we dive into my rendition of scratching, make sure to check out the link below. It's the Mixmash Year Mix 2018. Yes, it's that time of the year again. I recorded it live at the headquarters of Mixmash in Amsterdam. 65 tracks in 43 minutes, I believe it was. Make sure to check it out after this vlog. What was your favorite Mixmash release of the year? Can be Mixmash Records, can be OTW, can be Mixmash Deep. Make sure to leave it down below in the comments. And speaking of comments, shout out to the number 1 and 2 comment of last week, Kunal Adarji, with his question. Dear Kunal, I made several vlogs about this. Make sure to check them out. DJ Ascon with the number 2 comment of last week. How do I remember all these tracks? I just do. I have like a photographic memory when it comes to hearing a track. But if not, you can always have like a little description in the track title. You can type it yourself. Big room break meets Dutch drop or twisted house feel with tribal beats. This way you'll never get lost when you scroll down your track names and you'll still have like a little bit of an idea of how that track sounded. And speaking of how it sounded, some people hear my DJ mixes and they think I have like a hip-hop background. This is untrue. My scratching comes from house DJs and techno DJs. Specifically people like Bad Boy Bill, Dave Clarke, Jeff Mills, and Frankie Bones. From these people I remember recording their scratches and recording their tricks and trying to play these recordings in a loop and scratch along with them or try and do the same thing. And these DJs, their roots are like the old school 90s DMC type of scratching. So my scratches have that old school type of feel as well. But by all means, I'm still practicing and I'm enjoying this as I go. First up, I'm going to take you out to my show in Chicago, and after that I'll tell you all about scratching on dance music. Let's go. I did have 2 amazing shows in the weekend. Shout out to Chicago for everyone coming out and asking me to play my classics. It's my pleasure. And it's my pleasure to start this tutorial right here. We're gonna first start with the first scratch. You need to know the basics of the basics, which is the baby scratch. And what you do with the baby scratch is literally just move the platter forward and move the platter backwards. Forwards and backwards. Wee-ew. So what you need to realize is that when you move the platter forward, it starts with the start of the sample. So you move it forwards, and then when you move it back to the beginning of the sample again. What you saw in the end over there, it's called the release, where you release the sample instead of holding it. And the release of the track or the sample, I'll come back to you on that a little bit later. Because right now I want to talk to you about the crossfader. The crossfader is an essential thing in scratching. This is a small little fader on the bottom of the mixer, so when channel 1 is open and you put it in the middle, this means the volume of channel 1, all the way to the left. And then if you put it all the way to the right, channel B is open or the right channel is open. And so you can switch in between channels this way. So now you can utilize the crossfader to make your samples cleaner, to make your scratches cleaner. What you do is you can make rhythms and you can take out the scratchy parts of the samples you use. Next up, now we start combining these. It's the baby scratch with the crossfader and then combined with the release as well. The release, it's super important that you release the sample on the beat, either the kick drum or where the hi-hat sits. That's usually the place to be at, but it's always a little bit of a challenge to keep it exactly on beat and keep it onto the rhythm. As you saw, you can also simply keep the baby scratch going on the rhythm and then use the crossfader to make rhythms with that. But this hand keeps on doing what it does. What I'll do now is flip the crossfader on the hi-hat end of the music, and this will change the pattern a little bit. So from the downbeat to the upbeat with the scratch. And so the result is some fun old school cuts right here. Really bold, obviously. Another old school way is to combine the baby scratching with fast baby scratching. These scratches sound really awesome, but the mechanics to it is actually really simple. So the technique is, it's a baby scratch, but in between you do a baby scratch twice faster. Fikke, 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 fitte, fikke, 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 fitte, fikke. That's the type of rhythm you'll get when you combine that. And so you could start practicing this really slow to really get the mechanics of it. So slow babies, and see if you can in between do fast babies. So the combination of a scratch and using the crossfader can be magical. I'd want to introduce you to a couple of scratches. First one is the chirp scratch, invented by the legendary DJ Jazzy Jeff, one of my absolute favorite DJs still until this day. And what you do with a chirp scratch is right in the middle of the return point of the sample, you cut the volume out and then you bring the volume back, and you cut the volume out and you bring it back. This will make your baby scratch sound a little bit tighter and a little bit choppier. So I hope you could hear the baby scratch didn't sound as bold as it sounded before. And I do feel with the chirp scratch, the emphasis is on the pullback now. What do you think? I do think I have some real turntablists in my comments as well. If you're there, make sure to enlighten us and leave a comment below. And so combining the baby scratch with the chirp scratch is one of my favorite techniques to use. It's kind of like this old school feel I get from it. It comes to me really easy, and I do use it a lot. This is what it sounds like. So now we got through a bunch of techniques, a bunch of basics and easy techniques, I must say. But all these techniques will help you, making it easier to do live mashups. And especially when you have that release down, release on the rhythm, mashing up live will really become seamless. Okay, but let me talk to you about transforming a little bit. No, not the robots in disguise. Apparently, Jazzy Jeff was one of the first that did the transforming as well. And transforming is basically chopping up the sounds using the crossfader. Using all kind of chops. So again, leave it in the comments. If you know it better, please enlighten me and please enlighten us as well. So either transforming is cutting up with the crossfader or using the sample and then cutting it up as well. In this example, I'll show you the cutting up with just a crossfader. So sometimes I mix a track and then I'll put it in a very short loop, and then when the beat comes in, I'll start chopping. Okay, first let me find a little bit of a loop. That sounds good. Not really happy with this. Moving the loop. This, okay, yeah, a little bit longer. This sounds good right here. Chopping. Yeah, here we go. Chopping it up. So there you go, you can make all sorts of rhythms with that, utilizing the crossfader, but now we're going to utilize the platter simultaneously with that as well. I can already hear you thinking, wow, this is so hard to be on beat and to move your hands that fast and everything. For me, it's hard as well. And how you practice this is actually beginning on a very slow tempo. So maybe like put it back to 100 beats or 102 BPM, and then just, you know, do the same chop and just keep on practicing until you get it. And then when you get it, maybe put the track up for 5 BPMs and then do the cuts again until you get it. Add 5 BPMs to that, and etc. and etc. And 1.5 hours in or 2.5 hours in, and all of a sudden you can do it. And if you can't, just call it a day and try it again tomorrow, and you'll see gradually, because this is a long process. Like for me as well, I still need to practice more, and I wish I had time for that, but there's a lot of hours that go into legit scratching. So this is one of the reasons I have so much respect for people that are so good at scratching and being on rhythm and you know, all these amazing real turntablists. I can only be in awe of what you guys have accomplished and what you guys are doing. But this doesn't stop me from scratching live. I love incorporating live DJing and keeping the art alive and making kids enthusiastic for this art, instead of saying, you know, you suck and you shouldn't do this. By all means, please do this, and please do not like pre-record sets. The Crab, invented by DJ Qbert, probably the best scratcher in the world. And so this is his technique, and I suck at this technique, but I still do it. So what you do is you squeeze your fingers up against the crossfader. It's kind of like rolling your fingers down the crossfader. And so it'll make like a jittery sound, and if you can do it well, which Qbert obviously does it seamless, but not me. If you can do it seamless, then you're an amazing turntablist, and obviously for me, it's still really hard, but it should kind of sound like this. And there's more advanced techniques. There's the flares as well, and there's a 1-click flare and a 2-click flare, and so I'll use the way Qbert describes it as well. So if you have the sample and you do a 1-click flare, say this is the sample, yeah, you do a 1-click flare with the crossfader, you chop the sound up right in the middle, so it becomes a yeah, yeah. And with the 2-click flare, you would break the sample up using 2 clicks in between, and it would be a yeah, yeah, yeah. This is super hard and super hard to do on dance tempo. So here's my attempt to do a 1-click flare. This is very hard, but I'm just showing you what kind of scratches are out there still. But what I do occasionally use in my sets is the chirp flare, and for some strange reason, this one comes really easy to me, and it sounds a little bit like this. So there's a whole world of turntablism and scratch techniques out there that you can dive into. But the big question is, in this vlog, is how is this practical in like dance music sets? And I'll tell you right here. It's about having control, about handling acapellas, for instance. You can drop the acapella whenever, and you can correct it, play with it, do things you want to do with it, whatever comes to mind. And nothing feels better to me than having my hand on the platter and being in control, like feeling the music actually on the platter and controlling it wherever I want it to be. And so you can use the same for beats. So whenever you need to mix in a track or just drop it on the kick drum, but if you decide mid-mix if you want to use the clap, then you can, and you can be absolutely certain that you'll put it back on beat whenever you want it again. So in the end, you can put it all together and have a nice little live touch in your sets, like you've seen me do in my mind sets Nothing spectacular in terms of turntablism, but still very much playful, remixing on the fly, mashing it up on the fly, and sometimes a little solo that could sound a little bit like this. And again, I am absolutely not the best dance music scratcher there's around. Make sure to check out TJR, make sure to check out Mac J. Shout out to DJ Chucky as well. Obviously a shout out to everyone that inspired me ever. I will keep on practicing. I hope you'll keep on practicing, and by all means don't hold back. Even if you can't do it, just show us some live DJing. I'm gonna show you some live DJing here as well. I'm gonna end this vlog with my show in Vancouver at Harbor Event Center. And so you saw me in my tour manager Sammy's leather jacket playing. The air conditioning was that cold in the DJ booth. 10 minutes in my set, I turned around to Sammy, I yelled, "Give me your jacket now!" I was so scared of getting a cold through that, so that's why I was playing in a jacket. If you like my little scratch explanation, make sure to give me a like and hit that subscribe button as well, because next week is gonna be the year recap. I actually already made a list and it's been a hectic year. I did a ton of stuff, and next week I'm gonna tell you all about what I did. Make sure you tune back in for that. Until then, L's up, rave safely, and salute.